Most people think the biggest tragedy in life is failure. It's not. The real tragedy is having a powerful dream, a clear vision of who you could become, and still doing absolutely nothing about it. There are millions of people walking around with giant ambitions inside their heads. They want to become wealthy, respected, influential, creative, free. They imagine themselves building businesses, changing their bodies, creating content, becoming successful, escaping the life they currently live. They think about it constantly. They replay future scenarios in their minds before going to sleep. They visualize interviews, money, followers, success, admiration, and the feeling of finally proving everyone wrong. But years pass, and nothing changes. The dream remains alive, but the person stays stuck. And what's dangerous is that from the outside, these people don't always look lazy. Some of them are intelligent. Some are deeply emotional. Some are extremely ambitious. But psychologically, they are trapped inside one of the most destructive mental loops a human being can experience: the addiction to imagining success instead of building it. The human brain is incredibly strange because it often rewards fantasy almost the same way it rewards progress. When someone imagines becoming successful, the brain releases dopamine, the same chemical connected to motivation and pleasure. That means the person receives emotional satisfaction without actually earning anything. And over time, this becomes a silent addiction. They begin consuming motivational videos every day, planning future businesses, talking about goals, creating vision boards, and telling people what they're going to do. But deep down, they are replacing action with emotional stimulation. The fantasy itself becomes the reward. And once that happens, reality starts feeling heavier and more uncomfortable than imagination. Because inside imagination, everything is perfect. Nobody rejects you there. Nobody criticizes you there. Nobody sees your failures there. In your imagination, you are already successful. You are already respected. You are already living the life you want. But reality is different. Reality is slow. Reality is repetitive. Reality is embarrassing. Real progress requires you to look inexperienced, confused, inconsistent, and sometimes even stupid. Most people are not emotionally prepared for that stage. They want the confidence that comes after success without surviving the uncertainty that comes before it. And this is where another psychological trap appears: perfectionism. A lot of people believe they are waiting for the right moment. But in truth, they are hiding behind perfectionism because perfectionism feels safer than failure. They say things like, "I need to learn more first. I'm still planning. I'll start when everything is ready." Or, "I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity." But the reality is much darker. The longer they delay action, the more emotionally attached they become to the fantasy version of themselves. As long as the dream stays inside the mind, it remains untouched by reality. The future business is still successful. The future YouTube channel still has millions of subscribers. The future version of themselves still looks confident, disciplined, and admired. But the moment action begins, reality starts testing the dream. Now people can judge it. Now mistakes become visible. Now failure becomes real. And many people would rather protect the fantasy than risk damaging it with reality. So they wait and wait and wait until waiting becomes their identity. Some people spend years being almost ready. They are constantly researching, constantly preparing, constantly imagining, but never moving. And eventually, they confuse thinking with progress. But thinking is not progress. Planning is not progress. Talking about success is not progress. Only action creates evidence. And without evidence, the brain slowly loses trust in itself. That's why people who constantly delay their goals often feel secretly frustrated, insecure, and mentally exhausted. Every unfinished dream becomes psychological weight. Every promise they made to themselves and failed to keep becomes proof in their mind that they cannot trust their own words. And over time, this destroys self-respect. Because confidence is not built by motivation. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself repeatedly. Another reason people dream big but do nothing is hidden self-doubt. A person may consciously desire success while subconsciously believing they are not worthy of it. And this creates internal conflict.
One side of the mind wants greatness, but the other side fears visibility, responsibility, criticism, pressure, and change. Success sounds exciting until it starts demanding transformation. Because real success changes relationships. It changes habits. It changes identity. And many people secretly fear becoming different. Some people say they want attention, but they are terrified of judgment. They say they want freedom, but they fear uncertainty. They say they want success, but they fear the expectations that come with it. So the brain creates resistance in subtle ways. Procrastination, overthinking, endless distraction, random exhaustion, scrolling for hours, watching other people succeed while convincing themselves they'll eventually start too, but eventually becomes never for most people. And the saddest part is that humans suffer more from unused potential than from failure itself. Failure hurts temporarily, rejection hurts temporarily, embarrassment hurts temporarily, but regret lasts for decades. There are people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are haunted by the memory of who they could have become if they had simply started earlier. Not because they lack talent, but because they stayed trapped inside hesitation for too long. The human mind always wants certainty before action, but certainty only appears after action. That is the paradox most people never understand. Confidence is created by movement, not before movement. Nobody begins fully prepared. Nobody begins fearless. Every successful person once looked inexperienced. Every creator once made terrible content. Every entrepreneur once felt lost. Every disciplined person once struggled with inconsistency. The difference is that they acted while uncertain. They accepted the uncomfortable phase instead of avoiding it. And that decision changes everything. Because action teaches what overthinking never can. Action creates momentum. Action builds identity. Action forces growth. While dreamers stay emotionally attached to the future, doers slowly transform their reality through repeated, imperfect movement. Most people underestimate how powerful small, consistent action truly is, because modern culture glorifies dramatic overnight success. But almost every meaningful transformation begins invisibly. Quiet workouts, small uploads, awkward first attempts, tiny improvements nobody notices. The problem is that people want visible results before invisible effort. And when results do not appear immediately, they retreat back into fantasy, because fantasy provides instant emotional comfort. Reality does not. Reality demands patience. But patience is painful when someone is addicted to instant emotional rewards. That's why so many people spend more time consuming motivation than applying it. Motivation feels productive without requiring risk. It creates emotional intensity without demanding responsibility. But eventually, motivation becomes entertainment. A temporary emotional high, followed by the same unchanged life. And deep down, people know it. That's why after the motivational video ends, silence feels heavy, because reality returns. The same habits, the same fears, the same excuses, the same unfinished goals. And with every passing year, starting becomes psychologically harder, because the dream is now connected to guilt, shame, and self-disappointment. But the truth is simple. Your life changes the moment you stop worshiping the perfect future version of yourself and start respecting the imperfect current version enough to take action. Even small action, especially small action. Because success is rarely built through giant moments of motivation. It is built through boring consistency, through showing up when nobody claps for you, through working when results are invisible, through continuing after embarrassment, through surviving the phase where you doubt yourself constantly. Most people never reach their potential because they quit emotionally long before they quit physically. They became addicted to comfort, addicted to imagining, addicted to waiting for certainty that never arrives. But life rewards movement, not intention. The world does not respond to potential. It responds to execution. And one of the most painful realizations a person can experience is understanding that they were never truly incapable. They were simply afraid for too long. Afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of being seen trying, afraid of discovering they might not be special immediately. But growth has always required discomfort. There is no version of success where you skip uncertainty completely. So if you recognize yourself in this, stop waiting to become fearless. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop waiting for some magical future version of yourself to suddenly appear and save your life. That person is built through action, not imagination. And years from now, you will either thank yourself for starting imperfectly today, or you will continue replaying the same dream inside your head while your real life stays exactly where it is. Because dreaming big means nothing if the dream never survives contact with reality.